Hello, everyone. This is Jeremy McGovern, the Conference Director of the International Hoof-Care Summit. I want to thank you for taking some time out of your day away from shoeing horses to join us for this webinar. We're going to talk about the upcoming International Hoof-Care Summit, January 21st through 24th in Cincinnati, Ohio. And we'll quickly talk about the agenda and go over a few other points with this. The summit begins on Tuesday, January 21st. We are at the Duke Energy Center, and most of the events will be at the Duke Energy Center in Cincinnati. And that is this facility right here on 5th Street, and we'll go over the maps in that in a little bit. We do have some other events at the Hilton Netherland Hotel, which is just a couple blocks away from the Duke Energy Center. That is our primary hotel. The Hyatt Regency kitty corner from the Duke Energy Center is our overflow. Make sure to reserve your rooms as soon as possible. They do fill up. And if you've been a guest at the Millennium Hotel in the past, directly across the street from the Duke Energy Center, that facility is no longer open. They've closed as of January 1st. So definitely make your reservations for the other places. We'll begin at 8 a.m. sharp on Tuesday, January 21st. We'll begin with some educational sessions from 3 of our educational partners, Vet Tech, SmartPack, and Life Data Labs. And then following that, they'll all do a few sessions. We'll begin right at noon, and we'll get into some of our general educational sessions in the main room at the Duke Energy Center. And then that will be followed by the how-to breakout classrooms, which are also facilitated by our educational partners. Now that night, we will have our roundtables. If you've never been to the summit before, the roundtables are really great sessions. We have 2 blocks of these with different topics, and the roundtables allow you to discuss different topics with other farriers and equine veterinarians. There will be a moderator for each of these topics. There will be 8 topics going on at the same time, and then they will be repeated later in that evening. And those will begin at 5:15, and the second session will begin at 6:30. Now, those will be at the Hilton Netherland Hotel. Those are the only events that take place outside of the Duke Energy Center. Wednesday morning will begin at 8 a.m. with general sessions, and then our trade show sessions will start. And that will last from 10 to 1, followed by some breakout sessions. Again, everything's at the Duke Energy Center. And then following that, some more general sessions, and cap off the evening with another trade show session. Thursday begins much like Wednesday did, with general sessions, followed by a trade show session. This Thursday, January 23rd trade show session is our 3rd and final session. So you do want to make sure that everything you need to buy or take care of, by then you'll have handled by that. We will have shipping on site. There will be a kiosk from FedEx at the Duke Energy Center by the trade show. So if there's something too large to take back and on the flight with you, you can definitely ship it ahead. And following that, we'll get into some breakout sessions at the Duke Energy Center. Those are our classroom sessions, 5 going on at the same time. And following that will be the general sessions at the Duke Energy Center. Thursday night, we'll also have some roundtables going on at the Hilton Netherland Hotel. And then Friday wraps up the International Hoof-Care Summit, launching the day at 8:30 a.m. with some breakouts, followed by general sessions through the remainder of the day. I know that's a lot to go through, and it is certainly would take a good afternoon to go through all the sessions and describe them. So I encourage you to go to ihcs2020.com to look through the program and mark those sessions that you want to see. Okay. Now let me go through some things here. You can see a map of downtown Cincinnati, and highlighted right there is the Duke Energy Center. You can see there's a Hyatt Regency across the corner from there, and next door is the Hilton Netherland Hotel. The Hilton Netherland is the host hotel, and again, the home for the roundtables. So Both are very good facilities, and I'd encourage you to reserve your room at either of those so you can maximize that networking. And just to show you some of the parking options around Cincinnati, the Duke Energy Center and the hotels, but there are some open lots. If you do have a tall truck, don't wait, get there early enough to park. The lot here directly to the south of the Duke Energy Center has an open lot, so those can fill up fast though. So make sure to get to Cincinnati as early as possible for the summit. A little closer look of the Duke Energy Center. Here it is on 5th Street. These are one-way streets, so as you come into the city, you'll likely get in here on 5th Street and pass both the Hilton and the Hyatt hotels. Once you get there, you see Elm Street here to the right of this image, and that's the street that intersects with 5th. You will enter at the corner of 5th and Elm, and you'll go up to the 2nd floor. Everything we have with registration will be on the 2nd floor, and you can see the main area. These rooms right here are where the general session is, and then our breakouts occur over here. But right here where you see coat check, and this area is where the registration will be on the 2nd floor. And then just a little view if you're an exhibitor or if you're an attendee, this is our registration area. And of course, we talked about the trade show, and that's on Wednesday and Thursday, 3 sessions altogether, 10 uninterrupted hours. And those are on the 3rd floor of the Duke Energy Center in the combined Grand Ballroom B and A over here. So you'll come through the 2nd floor, come around to these escalators and come up here to the 3rd floor and enter through here. And of course, a view of our trade show. It's one of the, I think, the highlights of the summit. It's great that we don't have any sessions going on at any time, so it doesn't interrupt that time that you have with your vendors to ask them any questions or maybe even give them a tip or two on some new ideas you've had with product usage with them. And of course, our general sessions, general session room, little view of that. Get there early to get seating up front. We will have 2 screens on each side, so if you do get in late and you don't get a seat near the front, don't worry, you won't miss anything. We'll have a camera on the speaker and also a camera on their presentation slides. And so we'll get into the Q&A session now, but first I'd like to welcome Pam Boeing-Rogers, and she's the Director of Convention Services for Cincinnati's Convention and Visitors Bureau. How are you doing today, Pam?
I'm doing great, and thanks for allowing me to be part of this session. I think this is fantastic.
Yeah, Cincinnati has been a great partner for the summit. This is the 17th annual summit, and we've been in Cincinnati every year. It's almost, I think we get to know the same restaurants and always have the great service from Cincinnati. Pam, what restaurants are some of your favorites around the Duke Energy Center?
Well, I like, well, of course I like Morton's, but I actually like some of the ones that are down at the banks by the Red Stadium, like Moorline Lager House. They have a great variety of menus or options on their menus. It's moderately priced. McCormick and Schmick's up by the Westin is also very good and moderately priced. But then, you know, we also have, you know, the Panera's, Frisch's, which is on Elm Street right by the Hilton, and Chipotle, Potbelly, which, you know, serves sandwiches and things like that. So hopefully there's enough restaurants to quench anybody's taste. And we will have an information person at the table like we have in the past, that if anybody has any questions regarding attractions, the restaurants, or even just the city itself, she'll be able to answer all those questions.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. That table is set up across from our registration area on the 2nd floor of the Duke Energy Center. You know, sometimes farriers may bring a spouse, or they may find themselves getting in a little early or wanting to make a weekend after the summit. what are maybe some of the attractions you'd encourage them to take a look at in Cincinnati, Pam?
We have a lot of great a lot of great museums. Some of them are, just a short walk from where you are at the Hyatt or the Hilton. We also have the Newport Aquarium that you can catch the South Bank shuttle for $1 to go over to Newport on the Levee and to go to the aquarium. Weather permitting, if it's not raining, our zoo is open 365 days a year. And of course, we've got the famous Fiona there. So we just finished up with our Festival of Lights, which was very pretty. But, again, we have different, small museums like Workwood Pottery, where you can learn where the pottery that is known here in Cincinnati. We have the Taft Art Museum. We have the Contemporary Art Museum that's on 7th Street, which is actually on 6th Street, 6th and Walnut. And that museum was actually designed by the first female architect that's ever designed a museum. So it's very, very interesting. But there's plenty to do and see, and even a few little ways outside of downtown. But the one thing I wanted to also touch base on, that since you've been here, some things have changed. And we do have what's called OGO and guest carts. And OGO is an actual electric car. These are free transportation within downtown. And you can download the app, and Jeremy, I can send that app to you. And you can go anywhere here in downtown, up and over the Rhine, where there's some other great restaurants and small shops. But all they do is they ask that you tip the driver. And then the guest carts are actually golf carts, but they're all enclosed, and they do the same thing. But that one you have to call a phone number for them to come and pick you up.
Oh, very good. Yeah, it sounds like some exciting changes, and it's always the regret I have of we're always much too busy to get to see much of Cincinnati. But I'd encourage everybody who's watching this, if you do get in early or you do have some free time, there are a lot of nice attractions around Cincinnati. Taft Brew House was a nice find for me. That's a little ways away from the hotels, but definitely there's a lot to offer. So, but wanted to thank you for joining us, Pam, and giving us some good tips.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, and now I have a few questions here. A couple on the summit. Wondering about other species such as bovine, what we have in the agenda for that. Absolutely nothing. This is all equine. However, I know Steve Foxworth with ELPO will be at the summit. He will be doing some presentations also at the summit, but Steve is also helping create an educational program for other species and foot care for them. So if you do find yourself there and curious about that, make a point to go by the ELPO booth, track down Steve Foxworth. He's a wealth of information on that subject, and he can help point you in the right direction and maybe be a resource for you down the road. Question here on advice on becoming a farrier later in life. I think probably one of the best aspects of the summit is networking. So if you do come to the summit, regardless of your age, there's a lot of opportunities to network with farriers of different experiences, different regions. I'd also encourage you, if you, no matter where you're at in the stage of your career, I think roundtables are incredibly valuable. However, if you're just starting out as a farrier, there's a roundtable on Tuesday evening for farriers with 3 years or less. So whether you're right out of high school or you're starting maybe a second career, I think that's a good roundtable session to go to and meet with the experts there. That's going to be moderated by Bob Smith and Tiffany Gardner of the Pacific Coast Horseshoeing School. And third question here is, if you're coming with farrier friends, how do you maximize your time? I think one of the best things to do is split up the roundtables and split up the classrooms. You can only go to one at a time. Now, of course, the roundtables will be repeated, but that would limit you to 2 of the 8. So I'd encourage you and if you're coming with a friend, to split those up and compare your notes afterward. Regarding the classrooms, there are 5 classroom sessions on Tuesday, 5 on, 5 on Wednesday, 5 on Thursday, and 5 on Friday. Now, 2 of those will be repeated. There's a classroom featuring Steve Krause from Cornell University, and a classroom with Mark Trussler, who's a farrier from England. Now, their classroom sessions will be repeated. We want to see what the reception is, so we're trying that as a pilot program this year. But I think anytime we have multiple sessions going on, if you're coming with a friend, split those up and compare your notes afterward. You will be getting the recorded sessions from the presentations as video, where you can come to our site and watch those afterwards. So if you do happen to miss one, or you don't have enough people with you to cover everything you want to see, you'll definitely not miss out on those. Now, we will not record the roundtables, but your general sessions and your classrooms will be included. Okay. And I don't think there's any other questions. So we'll wrap this up. We'll do another session next week, and we'll answer any questions you have regarding the summit. If you do have anything you want to ask at any time, go ahead and give us a call here at the office or email us, and we'll be happy to help you. But again, thank you for joining us, and look forward to seeing you in Cincinnati.